righty. So it's another Monday podcast. If you're listening to us on some type of audio podcast, we appreciate it. Subscribe, follow, or like, however the mechanism allows. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're actually physically watching us, which we appreciate equally. And the same way, hit the like button, the subscribe button, comment on something you'd like to hear, and share it. Share it out with other folks as well. I think that's probably the most important thing, is letting other people know what we do, because what we talk about really helps everybody in some form or fashion. Adam, I know that training sometimes doesn't get the best clicks on YouTube, and the confrontation gets the most attention. But today, as we talk about like Halloween and costumes and all that kind of fun stuff, I wanted to talk about objections and how spooky and scary they might be for some people, and how we might be able to give them a few tips over the next 20 minutes to improve and make the business a little less scary.
It sounds good to me. In fact, that could put a lot of extra money in an agent's pocket if they just know how to overcome even one simple objection. So I think definitely it will definitely help a lot of agents.
I don't have any notes today. I'm not taking any notes. I'm going to be as organic as possible on this, because I've probably done 1,000 different trainings, and I shouldn't need to take notes post this one today. I think the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to objections is it's this mindset that we have where we're like afraid of the fact that it's happening, but it's usually happening because an objection, in many cases, I believe, is really a buying question. It's not that they don't want what you have. They're asking more questions before purchasing. Have you ever thought of an objection really as more of a buying question?
I think so. We've talked about too how a lot of times the reason that they're telling you why they can't move forward is a lot of times not the true reason. It goes back to me kind of being a buying signal, or they look at it as this is something that I need, and I just don't know if I'm ready to move forward yet. And a lot of times it's just based off of affordability, fitting it in their budget. A lot of times maybe they know they need it, but they can't pay for it today. But they don't want to tell you that. They come up with just any other reasons. So yeah, I think for sure, I think it all goes back to being buying signals. I think they know they need it. It's just a matter of maybe they don't feel like they can start it right now.
I also think it's important we kind of rephrase or reframe that in a different sense. Like, there's nothing to object to until you've made an offer. Anything until that point is a diversion or a smoke screen, like version from your straight line sales approach, a smoke screen comment, which isn't really a true comment. Like, you can't object to buying a car or negotiate the price of the car until the salesperson has put down the price they're offering for the car. So when they say to you at the door, Adam, I'm too busy right now, can you come back another day? That's not an objection. That's a smoke screen or diversion from the truth. Would you agree with me that an objection really can't come into play until there's a purchasing option on the table?
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Heck, they'll say anything they can to try to get you to leave. So yeah, that's not an objection. That's just, again, but those are also things that we need to be able to teach agents how to overcome, because those are definitely things you're going to run into probably on a daily basis.
I also think, before we get into the weeds on how to overcome some of them, some good go-to phrases, I think there are some situations, and maybe this is very high level for some people, that you don't need to get into an objection battle with. Like, if you get on stage and you start doing objections at a convention, it looks cool. But there are some circumstances where I'm sitting across from somebody, they give me some resistance, and I found that if I take the pressure away, I close my iPad, I talk about something different, I relax, and then I circle back to the root cause of what we're there for, then we can move back into a purchasing conversation. They just got too bent up on the pressure. And going right at everybody with your best one-liner doesn't work all the time.
Again, just, our clients, when we're focusing on final expense, good portion, we're talking middle to low income, majority that are just living on their Social Security every month. And that's, again, a lot of the times it's just they know they need it. It's more of an affordability sort of thing. They don't want to tell you that. It's not that they don't want to start it. They just maybe can't start it today. And like I said, we just got to let them know we don't need the money today. just kind of move forward from that.
I also think it's helpful to realize that a lot of times the people we speak to in the senior market, especially the blue collar final expense market, were never, or in many cases, not major decision makers in their jobs, or they were disabled early, or they worked doer responsibilities, not thinker responsibilities. And it's just unnatural for them to be moved into a decision making process right away. And if you meet them where they are and you understand, this lady worked at a cash register her whole life. She did what she was told to do for 8 hours a day until the day she threw her back out and went on disability. You're asking her to do something like physiologically different than what she's used to, but that's okay. Like, understand who you're selling to, and you'll sell more insurance has always been a belief of mine.
And again, I mean, I think that asking a lot of questions is important, getting the prospect involved, making them feel like you're there to help them and that you're not just there trying to sell them something. I think that the client too can kind of feel that. An agent is just a little bit too like salesy. I talked about that a few weeks ago, just talking about agents who talk about all the deals that they wrote. And to me, it's just more, let's make this a little bit more personal and show that we care and show that we understand the importance of this, because it is going to change the outcome of really how things are going to go when they pass away. I mean, this is something that's going to make their children's or whoever's handling things a heck of a lot easier. So I think we just need to show that compassion and show them that we care and we understand that, yeah, this costs money, but you need it. But it is going to put your family in a much better situation when you pass away.
Yeah. They don't care how much you know until they know that you care, I think is the slogan or the catchphrase that goes behind that. And it's like the putting compassion and confidence ahead of commission. I think one of the worst things I've ever seen somebody do in a home is start calculating what they're getting paid before they've even left the table. I'm like, this is just bad luck. Like, stop. Like, we're not done yet. What are you doing? But it's the approach that's wrong. Like, worrying about making that $600 isn't worrying about the greater picture of what's happening here, because realistically, that one $600 sale isn't going to make or break your career either. Maybe a little bit.
Well, at that point, you're focusing on your own needs above your prospect or your client's needs. I would rather write smaller policies that I know are going to stick than focus on a mech. I mean, yeah, I'd love to make a huge commission every house I'm in, of course. But I mean, I got to make sure, going back to talking about affordability and the people that we're working with and the fact that they don't really have a whole lot of extra money laying around. I got to make sure that they can afford this every month and not just the first month. So if an agent is just sitting around trying to calculate their commissions and how much money they're putting themselves above the client. And more than likely, they're going to put them in a plan that they're probably going to end up losing in the next few months because the client is not going to be able to afford to keep up with it.
Yeah, I think there's a balancing act, and we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but it's important that it's what's best for you and yourself and your agency. Where's the camera? What's best for the client and what's best for the carrier. It's that three-legged stool approach that should kind of influence your decision making, not what's unilaterally right for me or what my IMO says to sell, not what is the darn near always cheapest to the penny for the client to sell, and not what's just best for the kid. It's in between all three of those that dictates what I do in each of those situations. Because I'm not a charity. If it's $1 more and it's 30% higher comp, sometimes you have to make those decisions. If you're brand new to the business and you need to write business that pays this week to make it to next week, that's part of the three-legged stool. But you also have to do what's right in front of the person, because the person is depending on you as a skilled, trained professional, knowledgeable in this business, to do what's right for them. They don't know better, and they probably oftentimes made the wrong decision with what they purchased, so they really need you to do right. Like, imagine, Adam, you walked into a doctor's office, and the doctor's only concern was what pharmacy rep brought him the nicest gifts when he prescribed his medication. And you're depending on him for reliable medical treatment, not just whatever pharmacy rep is the nicest to him, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, let's talk actual overcoming objections. So if you made it to the 10-minute part of the video, you're going to get to the part of the video or the audio podcast today where you can copy what we say it in the home, say it in the door, and change what happens in that presentation. And remember, it's all about how many people you see, not how good you are at what you do. Adam is amazing at what he does. I'm pretty good. I think that's why going on a ride along is sometimes deceiving, because you're going to see like a all-star level performance when you're new to the business, kind of off topic. But let's talk specific ways you can overcome objections so people can take this and take it into the field this week. At the door, Adam, you knock on the door, you give your door approach, and the person says to you, I'm just too busy today. Can you come back another day? How do you handle that one?
Well, I mean, it's only going to take about maybe 10 minutes. I mean, do you have 10 minutes now? I mean, it's not going to take all day. I happen to be in the area. If now's not a good time, I could try maybe a little bit later today, but yeah, I mean, I try to keep it for the same day. Really, I don't know. I can kind of tell when I show up if they're being genuine or if they're just trying to blow me off. If let's say they got their work clothes on, they got their keys in their hand, and like they're really busy and planning on leaving, well then of course, set it up for another day. But if she's in her nightgown and robe and she's probably just laying around watching TV, well then let's really get to the true reason why you can't just do it right now.
Yeah. I work a lot of appointments, and every so often, even then you'll get objections, and they'll say things like, well, this isn't really a good time. I'm like, I look dumbfounded, like confused, because it's not a normal thing for people to say. Like, Adam, isn't this the time that you picked? Like, you picked the 2:00 time slot when they called yesterday, right? Okay. I'm really confused here. How is it all of a sudden no longer good when you had picked the time? I'm just here to go over what you asked for. And I think sometimes when you look strange or you act surprised or you just seem dumbfounded, they realize what they just said was incredibly stupid as well. You can move past it. What happens when they say to you in the early part of the presentation? Here's a common one that people struggle with. I thought this was about blank. I thought this was about something different than what you're actually there to present to them. Thought this was about rent rebates, bus passes, free housing, Medicare, free vegetables, something besides what you're there to talk about. How do you handle that?
I just pretty much tell them, no, this was about final expense. This was about, usually what I get, I rarely get stuff like that, honestly. I mean, if anything, majority of people with the final expense, especially like a direct mail lead, you might get the objection, or, well, like we said, it's really not an objection until we provide or give them an offer. But they might come back and say something like, I just thought this was something like government. I thought this was like a state plan. Like, is this something free from the government? Because that's what I thought it was. I mean, I don't really have any money for any more insurance. And when they come back with that, I mean, I usually say, well, this is actually, it's a government approved program. And we are one of the organizations that helps with the marketing of it. And, we're able to provide you with the best service and the best plans that are available for you. I just kind of put it at that. And it usually seems to work, and kind of gets you right back on track. Sooner or later, I mean, they're going to figure out that it's about insurance. But if you add enough value to what you're there to do, you're going to end up writing business anyways. Yeah, to me, it's about making this different than anything else that they already have. They might have a final expense policy. It might be for $15,000 that would be enough to cover their burial today. But I got to make this different than what they already have. Oh, wow, that's great that you have that. Our plan's actually one that's designed to cover all of the immediate expenses. I mean, we don't know how long your other policy is going to take to pay out, but we do know that this plan's actually designed to make sure that your family gets that money within a couple days. So a lot of people will use this as their primary plan to cover all the immediate expenses. And then the other plan is just kind of like your secondary, because we don't know how long your other plan is going to take to pay out.
I also find it important to realize when you talk about overcoming objections, diversions, and smoke screens, and the basic final expense presentation, is that the people that we're often servicing or seeing or selling in the senior market is a very underserved market. Like a lot of the neighborhoods and towns and places you go, most people with an insurance license wouldn't even dare to bother their time on. Very first voicemail I had after my big Monday kickoff call was a death call. A daughter called about a client of mine who had had a policy for probably 4 or 5 years, died over the weekend, and needed to know what to do next. And I think if we remember what we're doing and who we're doing it for, and that nobody else would even do it, when we get faced with these objections in the presentation, we're going to push a little bit harder. We're going to be a little bit more professionally persistent. We're going to be a little bit more confident saying, no, there's nothing to think about. We've gone over everything that there is and why it is, and so on and so forth. I need a yes or a no today. And when we accept we're not going to help every single person, but we should help them to the best of our ability, you'll push a little bit harder, is what I'm trying to say. Like, these people really need what we have, and no one else is going to be there to provide it to them. So don't take an objection and fall down on the ground. Like, push past it in these situations. Adam, someone says to you, I just want to mail it in. I want you to come by and mail me a bill and I'll mail in the payment. I don't feel like giving out my bank information. How do you deal with that objection?
Well, unfortunately, it's just we can't do it that way. I mean, companies just don't do it that way anymore. Everything is done through the bank. They let you choose the date. The great thing is that most of our clients, they get paid a specific day or date throughout the month, whether that's the second, third, or fourth Wednesday or the first or the third of the month. So it's always going to be paid on the same day that you receive your Social Security. And the great thing about that too, if you got sick or something, you ended up in the hospital and your family, they're worried about you. Well, they're not thinking about your bills. You could end up missing some payments. We don't know how long you're going to be sick or in the hospital. I mean, you could come out of the hospital and not even be in good enough health to be able to get it again. But as long as it was being paid that same day that your Social Security is being deposited, at least you know that it's always going to be paid and you're never going to have to worry about losing it. So to me, I understand other bills like your cable bill and stuff like that is not as important as this, but this is your most important bill that you want to make sure is always going to be paid for you.
I think sometimes when people are giving you these final series of comments, diversions, objections, delay tactics, I think in many cases they're looking for you to have a confident reply back that gives them some peace of mind. Like this 15-minute diatribe that doesn't make any sense and a story that takes forever to tell and they forgot what they asked, but like they just need you to say why it's that way. And I've even found it, like you just said, there's no other way to do it. Like, that's actually how it works these days. And I'm sure you understand it. But if you'd like the insurance today, Adam, what I need you to do is go grab a bank statement while I fill out some information. We'll get it taken care of.
I had one a few weeks ago. Where, start going through the whole app and then we get to the banking part and I just couldn't get past it. No, I don't want anybody going through the bank. I used that, rebuttal. Didn't work. Couldn't get anywhere with the person. And it's kind of sad because the client needs the coverage. And it's like, at the end of the day, they're not going to pay it if it's just mailed in on a consistent basis. It's sad that the only thing that's holding it up is the fact that they don't want someone taking the payment out of their account when really it's a convenience to them more than anything.
You think in those situations, they know and they're not going to tell you, but maybe if you understand it, who's listening today, you'll understand it. They are so, and I mean this in a respectful, loving sense, so irresponsible with their money. And they've had so many policies before you've ever been in that home. And you might not think it, but it's the case. And they know they're going to lapse it, NSF it, and miss it again. They just don't want to pay another overdraft fee for their irresponsibility. And if you see enough people, you're going to naturally just not even be an issue. Likely there are just some people that we are beyond our ability to help, and how it has to be on bank draft because they're not going to mail it in. It's as much a reality of the people we see as it is a reality of the world we live in.
Well, one thing too, like somebody's cable bill, if that is an automatic draft, the difference between like a final expense policy and a cable bill, a final expense policy, the price is locked in. It's never going to change. I could see maybe people had trouble in the past with a cable bill because your cable bill rates go up. So maybe the client was expecting a certain amount of money to come out of their account, and then a lot more came out than what was expected. And then that just leads to NSFs and bank fees and everything else. So you can at least tell the client, look at, this is not like your other bills. This is one that it's locked in. Nothing's ever going to change. We set it up to coincide with your Social Security. There's never going to be any surprises. And I think you'll be happy that you set it up that way.
Yeah, I think without going into too long of a length today, sometimes I overcome objections by drawing false connections between the two. When they say to me, well, when I set up my cable bill and my cable will mess up they say no. And I figure out what the no is. The no is they're afraid because their cable bill or their cell phone messed up their account. Well, that's not this. Thank God, Adam, because this isn't a cell phone bill or your cable company. This is a state regulated provider, a 100-year-old insurance company with a set rate that works directly with Social Security so that when you get paid, this gets paid. It's nothing like that. Thank God. So it's going to be a lot better, right?
Most definitely.
And I realized
yeah.
they're not even making a fair comparison between what went wrong and what's happening now. Couple more real life objections that if people listen and they take into practice, they'll make more money. I need to talk to my friends, brothers, cousins, sisters, uncle, the priest, the pastor, the rabbi, and everybody else. You leave me a brochure. I'll talk to these people, and then I'll get back to you about it. How do you handle that?
Well, I usually tell them, anybody that you need to talk to about this, unfortunately, they don't want to talk to you about the fact that one day you're not going to be here. And especially like if you want to talk to your kids about this, I'll be honest, they're just going to talk you out of it. I've seen it time and time again. Very seldom do I have, one of my clients tell me they need to talk to their kids about it and they end up calling me back. Your kids, yeah, they're looking out for you. But this is something where you're looking out for them. I mean, your kids, don't handle every single one of your decisions that you make. You need to look at this as one that you need to handle yourself, but look at it as like the last gift that you're going to be leaving your kids, because this is something that's going to be helping them when they're going to need it. And in the end, they're going to appreciate that you did this for them. So let's just move forward today, get it done. If anything, you can let them know about it, once you get your policy. But like I said, they're going to appreciate in the long run that you did this for them and be glad that you made the decision that you made and that you didn't give them the chance to talk you out of it.
I've got 3 ways to look at that one. And you kind of said one already. Adam, I think our parents are kind of in that same age demographic. How often do your parents call you for routine business decisions in their life?
Hardly ever.
Exactly. Like they don't actually do that, because that's not actually what happens. So they're not going to call their kids about it because we're the kids and they don't call us about stuff. I have, in some situations, challenged them on it. Well, you need to talk to Sally about it. No big deal. Let's get Sally on the phone or on FaceTime. I'll go over it with her real quick. We'll get her vote of confidence, and then we'll continue from there.
And if she's always at work.
But a few times, though, that's because it was BS. The few times they actually needed to talk to somebody about it, they actually call that somebody. And I had last week a situation where, don't do anything until I get there. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Oh, boy. All right. Okay. The lady got there. I reviewed it with her, and it said, well, it makes perfect sense. You should absolutely do this. Oh, good. We already did it. And then I said, well, what are you doing for your Medicare supplement? And I was able to help her, too. In some cases, it works to your advantage. And then the last way you can look at it is like you've already said it. We'll go over, well, let's get you covered. Let's get this taken care of. And if they have any questions afterwards, then I'll be happy to come back and review it with them in person, over the phone, via text, FaceTime, whatever. I give them the peace of mind that I'll be there again if they have questions, but I don't fall for the trap in those situations like you're describing.
And, I talked on your call last week about how I had the one where this never happens. Where I had that objection. The lady needed to talk to her son about it. I couldn't overcome it. I was 25 minutes down the road and the lady's calling me. I couldn't believe it. She had her son on the phone. Mm-hmm. And she said, we're ready to move forward with it. So, every so often, I guess that can happen. It's a rarity when it does. But it worked out. I'm actually going to write her son's son. Her grandson needs a policy too now. So, every once in a while you get lucky, I guess, but for the most part, you're right. It's more of the smokescreen sort of thing where they're just trying to figure out anything they can say to get you to get up and leave.
Yeah. I also think in our final 5 minutes, what's worth talking about as we talk about objections is the different ways that people can get training. I think So many agents could be successful in this industry if they just had someone that would point them in the right direction. Then eventually, as they were getting down the path, they could figure the rest out themselves. But could you imagine early in your career? Because I know I couldn't have imagined what would have happened if no one told you what to do? Training, suggestions, a presentation, what to carry, what to wear. Could you imagine have been making it 20 years in this industry if no one pointed you in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been very difficult. Fortunately, I grew up around the insurance business. My dad is in the business. I kind of growing up, kind of the way that he worked and what he did and all of that. So I think that definitely helped. I kind of knew going in what to expect. But again, not everybody has that luxury. And I could see agents. We talked about that a lot. Maybe you take somebody out once or twice and then they go out on their own and they just fall flat on their face. It's like maybe they didn't know what exactly to expect coming into the business. Like you said, even the little things, what to wear, what to do if this happens, what to do if that
What to
happens.
carry?
But I mean, I think anybody who's running a agency, an IMO, any sort of organization, there's got to be that sort of support available. That if the agent has a question, they can call somebody to say, this is what's going on. This is the situation I'm having. How should I handle it? And if someone's part of a group and they don't really have that luxury or that sort of support, then yeah, it is a problem.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, sometimes agents maybe would be in and out of the business too if they don't get the type of support that they need and they don't know who to turn to get it.
Exactly. So I wanted to close the conversation today by letting folks know if you're listening to this and you searched us online, you're on YouTube, like, oh crap, I got my license, I've got my bag, I've got a contract, I've got my last $500, and I really want to make this work. But they're not getting any advice besides what they're finding from us. We have 2 other methods you can get training on a regular basis that can really change the trajectory of where you're at right now. Like, you found us on a podcast, you found us on YouTube, you found us through a Facebook group, and you really need direction as to what to do next. Adam has a training every Monday at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, long form training, like big topic, how to fix it, how to learn it, how to do it over the course of about 30 to 45 minutes. Adam, let people know how they can find those, and I'll let them know how they can find micro topics that we cover every day on a 25-minute basis as well.
Yeah, and again, I mean, a lot of it's great. It's just, it helps people to feel like they're a part of something, to feel like they're involved. My trainings, they're long form trainings every Monday morning, going over different topics. I did one today. I talked about selling on value versus selling on the lowest price. So just little things like that. We've done trainings on sales trainings. We've done trainings on learning about different carriers, how to work different web apps, just anything, any little stuff like that. But again, Chris, your trainings, again, I mean, I think that the daily training is great for people that want to feel like they're a part of something. Even I know you do like group chats and stuff with your agents, and it does make people feel like they're really a part of a team and that they're just not out there all alone, out in the desert, themselves. And I think it makes a big difference. I think that agents want to feel like they're a part of something. And I mean, heck, your group chat, I bet majority of those people probably have never even met each other face to face, but they just communicate through that and they feel like they're a part of something and they're calling it working together with the same task at hand.
I think it's important to find yourself a part of something. Maybe there's 1% of the industry who will make it on their own and they're a freak of nature. But 99% of the people that make it because they're around others who are like-minded, motivated, ethical, hardworking, learning, because we can't know everything ourselves, but everybody can know everything together. So Adam is a training at 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 Central every Monday. It's broadcast on YouTube, Insurance Life, and everything in between, LinkedIn, your face, my face. It's emailed to you. I have a training on an old school conference call line. You can't get more 2016 than you get with that. That information is posted on several spots, Insurance Life, everything in between. You can contact me for the call-in number. If you're on this webinar, podcast, my God, and you need someone and some place to be and someone to help you with that, We've got multiple mechanisms for that as well. Hopefully, a little bit of conversation today on objections and their context in the presentation has helped you. And before we go, Adam, Arizona Diamondbacks or Texas Rangers, who wins the World Series?
Well, so far it's been pretty even. Well, somewhat even. I mean, first game was really close, and Texas took it. Second game was a bit of a blowout. I'm rooting for the Rangers. No specific. Well, the only reason why, I mean, I was a big Nolan Ryan fan growing up as a kid, and the Diamondbacks just kind of beat the crap out of the Cubs and really kind of pushed them out from making the playoffs this year. So I don't know, just didn't really like them. Kind of rooting for the Rangers. How about yourself?
I absolutely agree. You know, they made the Phillies look like a bunch of, I don't even know. It hurt. It still hurts a week later. I'm all in on the Rangers winning, and I'm all in on spring training, maybe even doing a live at a baseball game someday in the next season ahead. Thanks for watching, Adam.
That'd be cool.
Any closing thoughts before we go today?
Like I said, talk about objections. We talk about smoke screens, and again, just figuring out the real reason behind why the client is not ready to move forward. And again, it's something that maybe takes a little bit of time to learn. The longer you do it, the better you're going to get at it. But that's why we are here as well, to be able to support you and help you. And, if you're one of our agents and you're in a house and you have a question, you can call us while you're in the home, or even when you get out, you can kind of go over those scenarios with us, and we can help you. So the next time you run into those sort of situations, you're going to know what to say, and hopefully it could turn things around and help you make a sale rather than having to walk out again without one.
Exactly. Keep working hard. Keep seeing the people. It's all a numbers game. You could be the best looking and the best spoken and the best dressed, but the person that sees the most people writes the most business. Like, comment, and subscribe, follow, however you're hearing this. Click on whatever you need to click on so that next time we do this, you can be there to catch it. Thanks for being on, Adam.
Thank you. That sounds good. And then maybe if you want to just do, like, you can do it if you want right now, just talking into the mic, just say kind of like what I said, something like, and this concludes another episode of the whatever.
You're just going to splice it out of here?
Yeah.
Okay. This concludes another episode of the Life, Insurance, and Everything in Between podcast, where we discuss insurance in the senior market, mostly speaking, life, and everything in between. Thanks for watching. Comment and follow, and we'll be seeing you soon.